So, all right, good morning, everybody. We're in Luke chapter 10, and I'm going to, if you remember last week, we actually did the Good Samaritan. And we're going to be just right after the Good Samaritan. We're going to be reading the next small little story there. And this is where I'm thinking about, just trying to apply some of the things we're going through to our lives today. And how what I was thinking about is the feelings that we're all having at this moment in time. They're probably pretty similar to one another. We were feeling like distant. We're feeling like, disconnected. We're in this surreal moment in life where things just kind of like, it just seems strange. Some of us, it's like, how bad is it going to get? We would just have all these different thoughts, but we definitely feel a little bit of being disconnected and unplugged, maybe from other people. We got our friends and our family. Our families here, we got there's a bunch of us just as our family, but really we're not seeing that many people. Maybe for those, and this is just a group of us, but then I know there's a group of you guys that are definitely, you're at work, you're working at the, as nurses, as doctors, as delivery drivers, as whatever they have identified as, fundamental, whatever things that have to keep going on to keep society running. Grocery store people, my goodness, the bank people. So I haven't been to the bank, but someone told me they got like a glass thing in front of them or something, So, they're putting their health at risk, going out there and serving us, and we thank all you guys for that. And I know in one way, shape, or form, every one of us is feeling unplugged from our previous life. The life that we were living just a few weeks ago. We're not associating with as many people. We're not out and about doing all these things. And in Hawaii here, they got, as of yet, as of today, what I know of is that we're going to be in the same situation until April 30th, until they kind of open things up a little more. And that's going to be Lord willing. We'll see where we're at. And so it's a weird thing, And so we're definitely unplugged from our life. And when I was just thinking, for some reason, I was packing these things away. And I don't know if you guys remember these bad boys. We still have them. But I remember when I was a kid, I had this thing, and I remember the first one I think I've seen was behind our big TV. When you had the big wood TVs. And then back behind that, everything was plugged into it. Then we had our VCR. And then if you're old enough, you remember they had a VCR rewinders. It's like, so you got your TV, you got your VCR, you got your VCR rewinders to save your VCR, so you don't burn it up, Then you got your lava lamp, and then you got your, whatever, you got your Chia Pet light or something. I don't know what you got, but whatever you got a little aquarium and all this stuff. And, this thing that's, this is what we started with, but this is what we end up with. And something that looks like this, underneath. I don't know if you guys have seen something like this, where, in your own yard, whatever, right? So, behind your TV, hopefully it doesn't look like this. This is what we call a fire hazard, right? But this is, you just see everything's plugged into it. Everything's on and on. It's meant to hold, so many different devices, but we would take advantage of it and stuff. Well, this is what it's like. It's like we just got unplugged. And this is what a lot of our lives looked like last week. In a sense, we were so strung out with how many things we got to do, how many places we got to be, how many different jobs we got to get done, how many things. And we end up, being way overloaded to the point where we could end up, being a fire hazard for our own lives and other people around us. And you guys know what I'm talking about. And one of these things that we get overburdened with life. And this is something that I was thinking, we at this time, what can we do for this next month? For those of you, especially if you're staying home for a lot, some of us are still working some are not. But you're definitely unplugged in a sense, and you're kind of getting back to this. And you're like, okay, what am I going to put back on? And here's my point. You got everything up. This is what I'm thinking. Man, we could change our lives in this moment in a sense. How often? When was the last time you had this much time in your hands? Man, it's been since I was playing with Hot Wheels in in high school. No, I'm just kidding. No, in grades, whatever, playing with Hot Wheels and stuff like that. When I had kids playing with Legos and stuff. When did you have this much time in your hands, guys? And it's like you got a clean slate, And I just put here's an order of things, I just wrote this real fast, but we got God first, right? And then we got, our family, we got our church, we have work, we have our friends, and we have rest and all these things. And again, we will like our life may have been messed up. God may have been way down here on the thing. Or he could have been way off kilter. He could have been like, you were so overloaded. I'll take all these things off. You were so overloaded that God was so far down that you had this, and then you had to get a splitter. Because this was all filled, and then you put a three-way on here. You know, and then it was like on the three-way, you finally plugged in God on one of these three-ways way down the line. Okay, so that's basically what I'm going to go with today. And I'm going to look at a few different passages. And again, this isn't going to be real long. I'm trying to make these relatively a little bit shorter just to keep you guys' attention. And but as we go in here, last week we talked about the Good Samaritan. This time we're you know, we have this, we're unplugged, or we're wired a certain way. Right now we have a clean slate in many different avenues of our life. When we looked last week at the Good Samaritan in Luke chapter 10, one of the things that was there is that, my page keeps turning in the wind, we learned that the Samaritan was there, and he just did not take advantage of, not the Samaritan, but the man that was laid there. The story last week, the priest and the Levite, when they walked by, they didn't take advantage of the opportunity that was right there before them to help somebody. You know, if you keep reading after that, it's this story here. If you just go on to the next verse, Luke chapter 10, verse 38, says this. It's the story that most of us, I'm going to tell very familiar stories today and read through these. It says, now it came to pass, in Luke chapter 10, verse 38, came to pass as they went, that he entered into a certain village, and a certain woman named Martha received him into her house. And it says, and she had a sister called Mary, which also sat at Jesus' feet and heard his words. But Martha was cumbered about with much serving, and came to him and said, Lord, dost thou not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Bid her therefore that she helps me. And so the scene is set. So I know all of us, probably everyone here has probably heard this story at some point. But we got Mary and Martha together, and what happens is, you know, Martha basically invites the Lord, and Jesus comes into her house, and she is busy serving. And she's loaded. Like, she's on overload, you know? I mean, probably more than these. She's on overload. She's got so much stuff going on. And she gets to this point where she notices that her sister Mary, what was Mary doing?
Listening to the Lord.
Yeah, she was just chilling, and she was sitting there listening to the Word of God as He spoke Himself, right? And so Martha gets upset. She's so much overloaded in her life. She has so many things going on. You know, her circuit breaker's about to break. Her emotions get the best of her, and she's saying, you know, she's just like, all she can hear is, babe, like, this is wrong. I can't believe that Mary is sitting here and not helping me. And we're going to find out that she was really disconnected with God, and she was connected with all these other things in her life, all these other cares and worries. So, again, verse 40 says, Martha was cumbered or hindered or troubled about with much serving. And she came to him, she comes to Jesus, and she says, Lord, do you not care that my sister's basically sitting here chilling and doing nothing? And here it is again, when we get flustered, when our life is so overloaded, when you think of your life just a few weeks ago, completely overloaded, and for many of us, man, we start to have these bad thoughts, wrong thoughts that aren't really godly thoughts. And all of a sudden we might start to question God, just like a few weeks ago, we were reading where the disciples were in the boat, and the storm came, the water is taking on in the boat. And what did they say to Jesus when Jesus was sleeping? They say, wake up, and say, what did he say? It's like,
don't you care we're going to drown?
Yeah, don't you care? The same thing that Martha says right here. The same thing. She says, don't you care? Don't you care? How many of us say that to God? We will say this all the time. Don't you care, God, that this isn't going right? Don't you care, God, that my relationship isn't going right? Don't you care, God, that my finances aren't going right? Don't you care, God, that this and this and this? And we will get on and on and on and saying all these things. Why? Because we're overloaded. We have not put God plugged in on our number one, thing here. We're overloaded. We got all this other stuff in our life. Like Mary. She's overloaded. She's got all this stuff. And now she's questioning God whether or not He even cares about her. And does God care about her?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's unimaginable. It's like spectacular to think how much God cares about us. And we know, and as I just look around in family and just a couple friends here, keeping our 10 limit and all that stuff, and everyone's You know, it looks like I'm speaking to a big audience, but there's hardly anyone. But we know our walk with God. We know that He knows us and that we know Him. And that we have this intimate walk with God, which is spectacular and it's awesome. But He has that with every single person. He cares just as much as He cares about me. He cares about every single one of us. Every single person on the planet. He cares about us. And He cares about Martha. And Martha is so, again, cumbered about with all these troubles and all this worry and all this anxiety. And she's so upset with her sister because her sister's sitting there and really going to find doing the right thing. And she just can't take it. And she's like, God, don't you care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Bid her, therefore, that she helps me. Now, God, I want you to do something for me. Jesus, I want you. Do you care for me? Because if you care for me, then you're not seeing this. And I'm going to point this out to you, and we're going to correct God, and that's what she's trying to do. And this is what I want you to do, Lord. I want you to tell her to get up off her booty, come back here. You know, we got to boil eggs. We got to, we're making whatever they're making. You know, I mean, I don't know, we're making potato salad. Whatever they're making, and she's upset. So she asked God to get her up, and this is what Jesus says. And Jesus answered and said unto her, Martha, Martha. And it always seems like you're in a little trouble, maybe, when He repeats your name. He's like Abraham, or whatever. Right? So Martha, Martha, thou art careful and troubled about many things. Jesus recognizes right there. You know, Martha, Martha. You know, you're like this times 10. You know, you're troubled. You got so many things on your break. You got so many things. You're about ready to blow a fuse. You know what I mean? Literally, you've not set your priorities right. And again, my point today is this is like where we're at, right? I'm gonna say this a few times. Just try to. This is where we're at. We have an opportunity in this big space of time where life has changed. We may never have another moment like this in our life. I don't know. But we have a time where we have a clean slate, and we need to prioritize God first. You know, then on down the line, then our family, our church, you know, our workplace and all these things. We can't just go and exclude God and expect things are going to go good. So verse 41, and Jesus answered and said unto her, Martha, Martha, thou art careful and troubled about many things. But the one thing is needful, and Mary has chosen that good part which shall not be taken away from her. And so Jesus recognized, like, man, you're troubled, and she's done what's right. Man, if Jesus walked into any room ever in our lives, in any circumstance of our lives, whatever we were doing, we should be able to set it down and sit there and look at Jesus and listen to Him and listen to Him speak and listen to His teachings, right? And a lot of us, we don't give Him the time of day. And Mary, again, I mean, Martha, I don't believe Martha was intentionally within her heart trying to not obey God. But I think that she just had her priorities wrong. She had structured things wrong. She said, I have to serve, and not sit and listen. Because if we serve God, if we serve Him and we haven't listened to God first, man, what are we going to be? What is our life going to be like? That means we just turn into autopilot. We're not serving from the power of God. We're not singing from love for God. We're not, cleaning the church for the love of God. We're not mowing the yard for the love of God. We're not, whatever we're doing, we're not being missionaries in another planet for the love of God. We're just doing it as an act of just service and not out of a heart of gratitude because we never sat with God. We got to be careful. And another thing that I'm going to go to a couple different examples here. If you kind of turn your Bible over a couple pages, I'm going to give you another example of someone who did basically the same thing. But he did it in a different way. I'm just going to throw this out couple different avenues. Martha was busy. There's another guy that was busy. And I'm going to kind of talk about this. In our life, we can get consumed with money and finance and all these things. And we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about that. In Luke chapter 12, starting in verse 13, right in the middle of basically Jesus kind of speaking to the Pharisees and talking about kind of the leaven of the Pharisees and things like that, a man stops Jesus in the middle and he asks for something. And this is what happens in Luke chapter 12, verse 13. It says, in one of the company, again, this is right in the crowd, they said unto him, and this is speaking unto Jesus, he says, Master, speak to my brother that he divide the inheritance with me. So Jesus, the guy there, obviously Jesus was, if you go through, and I won't go through it all, where Jesus was speaking before, he's speaking all this amazing stuff, right? And the guy, he's not wired right, man. The man is like not wired.